Coming up next, from San Fran Freak Show, The Savage Nation, from Talk 910 KNEW.
Your money, your life. How to make sense of it all. I'm Rob Black. Join me weekday mornings at 10 on Talk 910 KNEW.
Warning. The Michael Savage Show contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Here is Michael Savage.
Markowski sitting in for the good doctor, Dr. Michael Savage on the Savage Nation. Welcome to the program. You know, you never forget your first time, your first kiss, first love, and you never forget your first time you listen to the Michael Savage Show. I remember, it's so funny how I remember this. I'm sitting in a car in New Jersey. After I left, I was actually doing a radio interview at a station there, actually talking about the demise of the dot-coms and nonsense that I handle, and flipping around stations on the AM dial in the parking lot after the interview. And first time I heard Michael Savage. And I sat there in that parking lot for a good hour. Never heard the program before in my entire life. But I was mesmerized by this man who's fearless. If someone was going to ask me, how would you describe Michael Savage? I'd say fearless. Saying what you believe. Saying what you mean. Too often in our society, we're told that opinionated is no good. You can't be opinionated. You gotta mold. You gotta be like all the lemmings. You gotta be like a sheep. You gotta follow everybody else. I remember being told that when I was a kid. You're too opinionated, Chris. You got to keep your opinions to yourself. Too opinionated. Wrong. Opinions, ideas, are what make this country great. Are what make this country strong. And after listening, sitting in that parking lot for over an hour, hooked. Like I said, everybody knows. Everybody's listening to the program right now remembers the first time they heard Michael Savage. Remembers it like it was yesterday. And is better off for it. Anyway, we got a lot we got to go over on today's show. A lot of news stories. And obviously, first and foremost, I want to welcome everybody to the program. And we're going to open up the phone lines throughout the entire show. 1-800-449-TALK is the number. 800-449-TALK. And we're going to talk right now a little bit about the Lion of the Senate, or the so-called Lion of the Senate. Can't go anywhere. I don't care what news station it is. It is wall-to-wall Ted Kennedy. Nothing but Ted Kennedy all the time, Ted Kennedy. And nothing but positive Ted Kennedy. Now, I understand that you do not want to dance on anyone's grave. I understand that, you got to give a little bit of time before you start going after this guy. But I'm a tad bit frightened at how the media is going to end up translating this thing. I have a funny feeling that this guy, much like his brother, who was president, is going to be made to be something that he is not. And all the transgressions, all the errors in judgment are going to be swept under the rug. And they're going to turn this guy into some type of god. That drives me crazy all the time. I talk about this a lot, and I've written about it. Today's day and age, we drive around, we see so many buildings, highways, bridges, roads, named after politicians. We've got one down here. I'm from Southwest Florida. We've got the Bob Graham Skyway Bridge. And I say to myself, did Bob Graham pay for that bridge? Or was it the taxpayers that paid for that bridge? And that's what's going to happen. We're going to start seeing Ted Kennedy schools. We're going to start seeing Ted Kennedy highways, Ted Kennedy post office. It's going to be Ted Kennedy all the time. Now, everybody heard a lot of listen to any of the news today. Heard a lot of the montages from the various different political leaders out there. I want to play a couple. I want to play two of Joe Biden's comments.
I sat with him on the Senate floor in the same aisle. I sat with him in the Judiciary Committee physically next to him. And I sat with him in the caucuses. And it was in that process, every day I was with him, and this is going to sound strange, but he restored my sense of idealism and my faith in the possibilities of what this country could do. So many of his foes embrace him because they know he made them bigger. He made them more graceful by the way in which he conducted himself. You know, he changed the circumstances of tens of millions of Americans in literal sense. Literally changed the circumstances.
I listened to this. Let's take the first clip. He's talking about how Biden's talking about how Kennedy restored his sense of idealism and his faith in the possibilities of what this country could do. It's funny, I don't see that in politicians. I see that in Joe, the guy who owns a diner on the corner. Bob, the guy who owns a dry cleaning shop. The people that own small businesses, that employ, the people that are actually in the trenches. Not someone who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and was basically given the Senate position. He talks about it. I heard this how many times today with no follow-up. Ted Kennedy changed the circumstances of thousands of Americans, literally. Literally. How is that possible? How? Tell me how. Where? Where did he change my circumstances? What did Ted Kennedy do for you? What did he do for me? Oh, well, you know what? He did build the largest public works project in the history of the planet. The Big Dig in Boston, which was completely unnecessary and a waste of taxpayer dollars. I know that one, but I can't think of anything else. Oh, but wait a second. Hold your horses. Ted Kennedy said in 1969 that he wants to have universal health care. And what do we have already today? Robert Byrd coming out and saying we need to rename the health care bill the Ted Kennedy bill. It needs to be named after Ted Kennedy. Robert Reich, former labor secretary under Bill Clinton, saying the exact same thing. Using Ted Kennedy to push some legislation. This is so eerily reminiscent of the Paul Wellstone memorial. Everybody remember the Paul Wellstone memorial? Paul Wellstone, senator from Minnesota, died in an airplane crash, and they held this big rally. I think we got a clip from it somewhere, guys, right?
We will carry on the fight. We will carry on the struggle. We will carry on the tradition. We will carry on the pride. We will carry on the struggle, and we will carry on the legacy. And we will do it for Paul. And I'll tell you what, Mom, you're right. We will win. 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 We will win.
Well, you know what? I invite the left, I invite the Democratic Party to rename the health care bill after Kennedy. But the secret here is, people, and you're hearing it right here on the Savage Nation, the secret is Ted Kennedy's not so popular in flyover country. Yeah, may sell in Massachusetts, New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and with the politicians, but he's not so popular. And they're going to stick their foot in their mouth. We've got a caller on the line. We got Lou from New York. Lou, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Hi, how are you?
Very well.
I'm just taking this all in. I'm a surgeon on Long Island, and certainly it's a sad day, I guess. But I think Ted Kennedy epitomized the fact that none of these politicians will have the courage and personal integrity to step out of the dogma of their own party. He epitomized what is wrong with politics today. I mean, this guy just followed everything dogmatically, whether it was right or wrong. He just stood right by it. This thing with universal health care, I would love someone to chronicle the care that he received. I'm sure he didn't go to his local neighborhood physician. He probably went to the Mayo Clinic and every center of excellence in this country because he had the privilege to do so. He didn't have the same type of treatment you or I would have. He had specialized treatment. If he had universal health care, he would have had none of that. If he would have had to follow his own words. I mean, it's just so hypocritical, I can't even take it.
Well, I agree with you 110%, Lou, because you know what? I'll share a personal story right here. My younger brother and partner